You think you know esports? Think again. Here, the virtual hits as hard as the asphalt. This is racing redefined. Every battle, every red line, every risk, real. Those tears? That sweat? The milliseconds that put you on the podium? You can't fake it. Because any real racer can tell you it's more than just going round and round. This is about clutching victory from the jaws of defeat, pushing beyond what you thought possible. With the largest sim racing prize on the line, if you're race-born enough, you got a real shot at glory. Because this is iRacing, and it's as real as it gets. Watch it all live on Twitch.
1 week removed from Daytona, we head on over to Italy and say welcome to the Autodromo del Mugello here for week number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. It's Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati here once again, and well, we had some drama and excitement at Daytona. Mugello, bit of a tricky, different style of track, but we've got a long drag race down to turn 1.
And a bit of an unknown as well, right, Paul? Because it's one of those tracks with less history in this Porsche Esports Supercup than Daytona, and so looking forward to seeing how it all plays out here. But our All-Stars will have some fun as we get to see the GT3 car with traction control out for the very first time. Important because with the elevation change, I think drivers are going to be somewhat reliant on the aids.
Traction control, ABS, that they'll be making use of all of it, that is for sure. You will guarantee that they will have some fun out there today. Let's have a look at the schedule. So last week we were at Daytona with the Porsche 963 GTP. We're here at Mugello, as Arjuna says, with the 911 GT3R. Next week we're back into the prototypes at Spa-Francorchamps before Sachsenring from mid-season tournament. Thruxton, Fuji and Le Mans rounds out the 7-week championship. So that is the schedule of how things go here at Arjuna. The drivers, they're currently in qualifying, only 10 minutes, but they're all out there at the same time.
And you mentioned that drag down to the opening corner, the draft going to be so important, and so I think with everyone out there at the same time, should be interesting how the games are being played, how close they're all running, but will set themselves out in qualifying order for the sprint race. But let's not forget, Paul, the full invert for the 25-minute main race.
Yeah, that is a big thing that these drivers will take advantage of. We saw last week at Daytona how drivers were able to work their way through, and we'll see whether they're able to do that again. Casey Kerwin wasn't able to quite get the main race victory. He did get the sprint race victory though last time out. At the moment though, it's Pulpo Lopez who heads the timing standings. There he is on screen right now. And well, if ever there was a car and track combination that was fitted together like just, I don't know, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, something like that. I mean, this is the perfect place. I should have gone with bolognese and spaghetti, but there you go. I messed that one up.
A pasta and a pasta sauce, it was right there, especially given some of the corner names that we've got around this track. We've got about 41 odd meters of elevation change to speak of as well, and that's what I think is going to be interesting, how these drivers even work their way through. Look at that straight, right, coming out of that final corner. It's a bit of a climb into the opening corner, and so let's take a look at this track map. Around 5.2 odd kilometers, 3.25 miles, and 15 turns for this Grand Prix configuration. It's the inaugural race for the series as we come here to our Tag Heuer track analysis, but it should be an interesting one, that's for sure. The far end of the circuit sees some switchbacks that lead us to a long left-hand hairpin, and then the long straight into the opening corner. Might we see a run to the line? We did at Daytona in our Porsche Esports Super Cup a week ago, Paul. I'm hoping for the same here today, at least with our All-Stars.
And if you've ever wanted to listen to a Yorkshireman butcher Italian pronunciations, then you've come to the right show. That is for sure. The drivers' qualifying will be over in just a few moments, and that will mean that we'll be able to give you your starting grid here for this week number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Don't forget, if you do want to get started on iRacing, if you're watching this and thinking I want a piece of the action, iRacing.com, 40% off of all new memberships. But here is the starting lineup then. On the front row, the Pulpo Lopez holds on to pole position alongside him, Casey Kerwin. Pablo Vicente and Quirk round out row number 2 with Kenny 500 and Straddy on the third row of the grid. Then it's TK, Tony Kanan and Basic Ollie sharing row number 4. Basic Ollie, the main race winner last time out. Porsche Zaza and Sampside on row 5 with Daniel Gray. Lex Lopez's Cameron this time. And Grizzle on row number 6. Row 7, Fort Love 46 and Emery with Storm Molina rounding out the 8th row of the grid. This is a car that Storm Molina knows a little bit more about though, to be fair, so I think she'll be a lot more comfortable and see her working the way through the field, that is for sure. But Arjuna, we've got just under a minute remaining. What are these drivers feeling heading into the sprint race?
Well, a little bit of uncertainty in one, right? Because this is not a car traditionally in which you see these standing starts. But I think we're also kind of expecting some unknowns. Casey Kerwin, right, a little bit more, you'd say, up to speed in a prototype where he likes the downforce on the roadside of racing, but he's now been challenged by the Pulpo Lopez for that pole position. Going to be an interesting run down to turn 1. You and I were talking pre-race. We think Pablo Vicente is going to be quick. I know, yeah, never count out Quirk. He always finds himself up and in the mix, and up in 4th. He might be one to contend if there's any sort of trouble in front. And
we will be hearing from a number of our drivers throughout today's race as well. The drivers are getting themselves ready. You can hear them patiently waiting on the loud pedal, waiting for the green flag to be dropped here for this, the sprint race of week number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Engine revs rise, and we're underway here at Mugello. Great launch from the front row for both of our front row starters, but look at Pablo Vicente coming through into second place. Going to be challenging, heading towards turn number 1. Sam Donato onto the brakes through the long sweeping hairpin. This right-hander, and then you've got the tricky left-hander at Luca, and then Poggio Senko, before then heading down that straight towards Materazzi and the Borgia San Lorenzo. So drivers all sorting themselves out with cold tyres. We've got battle for 4th place. Quirk, Kenny 500 involved there as through they go. And so far so good, all nice and clean there.
Yeah, nice start there from Pablo Vicente to drop the clutch and get off the line pretty nicely, and works his way past Casey Curran behind there. Not really too many moves. Borja Zazo grabs a couple, up 46 grabs a couple as well. But all 15 still pointed in the right direction, Paul, and this is a relatively short race, expecting maybe 9 laps of racing. We'll see if anyone's going to break away and start to pull out of draft range, coming back towards the main straight.
I think these drivers will be happy that they have got a bit of downforce compared to the Cup car here. So drivers working their way through then into this Correntaya right-hand hairpin and through the S's here. This you can really cut a lot of the curb. I know that because I was racing around here last night in a different championship. So I know how tricky this track is, but I know how much you can abuse the track limits here. And I swear that is the only time that you'll hear me comment about track limits today on this broadcast. Across the line to finish the first lap, the Pulpo Lopez has pulled out a 3/4 of a second lead over Pablo Vicente, but is coming under increasing pressure from Casey Kerwin. Pulls out to the inside. Can Casey hold it down there? He has got the outside for the next corner though.
Yep, but the Kansas City Pioneers driver is going to continue just to poke his nose in the mirrors and put the pressure on to the 26 machine, the Rincon Racing entry. as out into the gravel. A little bit of speed going to be lost here as already the Popa Lopez 1 full second clear. Draft range around 1.5 seconds, so if the roadblock continues to be thrown up as we head towards the middle sector of the lap and start to dive down and through the elevation, expect the lead to break away, and Kerwin going to get increasingly desperate to fire his way on forward.
You can see how they're just having to work those wheels just a little bit more than they were in the prototypes last week, so drivers having to just be a bit more precise with their inputs as we go through the right Scarperia, and then Palagio, the left-hander, then onto the brakes for this hairpin once again. It's a track that looks like it's got opportunities aplenty, but it can be quite a flowing track, which generally doesn't then lead itself to overtaking, hard braking overtaking spots.
And especially given that, you know, with the driver aids that we have, relatively hard sometimes to make egregious mistakes, and so Porsche has been the one that's really started to pick his way on forward, but you can see the gap he's got in front now, a bit more focused behind as TK, Basic Ollie, Daniel Gray all work their way in through the draft back towards the line, and already look at the margin that they're going to start to trail behind. Porsche is just going to be focused on throwing up the defense, running back to turn number 1.
Yeah, that Spanish Minister of Defense going on the inside line here, looking to the outside is Tony Kanaan. Not going to be making that move, and that almost allowed Basic Ollie to stick a nose in down the inside. But still, we're keeping it nice and clean. I can tell you, Stradi has dropped down the order in this race, had issues on the last lap, and look at them all running out into the gravel. That will slow you down, so you've got to be careful not to go too far wide on these corners. It is so tempting to do. Race for second place, top of your screen. Race for 6th and 7th on your bottom of your screen right now.
One thing that you can do maybe a bit more in the virtual world than in the real world, though, is run over the curves when it, you know, extends out into the grass, you know, where in the real world sometimes those ruts would develop, you'd be a bit more scared of breaking the car. Here in these short races, right, and with the lack of threat of having to pay a virtual crash repair bill, you can afford to make those sort of decisions that would be a bit more aggressive in the real world, and so sometimes you do see drivers be a bit more aggressive with their line. See if there are going to be any drivers that go 4 wheels off, because Paul, you dig 1 or 2 tires off into the grass, into the gravel, yes, that will slow you down a little bit. 4 wheels is a totally different story.
Well, look who it is on the right-hand side of your screen there. The man who forgot to switch his camera on last week. As we distract him right now, Arjuna, we've got Daniel Gray joining us.
And we just had to join him when he was 3 wide, but Daniel, your camera's on today. Great job.
Yeah, thank you. I figured out how webcams work, which as a streamer is a pretty big milestone for me, yeah.
Don't worry, we know sometimes it's early in the morning. It's easy to sometimes forget to flip the on button. How's things going here at Mugello? It's an interesting track, especially with this GT3 machine.
It's a phenomenal track. It's got a great flow. It's just a flow that I don't understand whatsoever. So I'm trying my best. I'm getting monstered slightly. I'm trying to conduct the train, and everyone wants to overtake the train conductor right now, unfortunately. But we'll see where I end up at the end, I guess.
Talk to us a little bit about the car itself. ABS traction control, is it a little bit easier than the Cup car? Would you have preferred to be in the Cup car here today?
See, I really like the Cup car and the lack of assist. It's probably my favorite car in the game, but I really like this car. It's rear engine, it rotates really well, especially brakes really well, better than any of the other GT3s. So this is my favorite GT3, so I have no excuses for coming P11, you know, which is unfortunate. I wish I could say I didn't like the car. It'd give me an excuse.
No excuses. We've also drug into the commentary booth the person right in front of you, Sam Soy. How's things going for you, David?
Sweaty. I had a rig failure about half an hour before the start of this race. So I had to rebuild the rear portion of my rig and my seat. So, yeah, happy to be here and not have to pull out at the last minute.
Who said that sim racing doesn't have last-minute mechanical fixes? So glad you were able to throw that all together. I'll ask you the same question. How are you getting on with the flow with this track and car combo, especially compared to Daytona's Smoke? TK's gone off the track.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's my first ever race here. I have practiced, obviously, but I'm finding it very demanding. I'm leaning on the ABS TC and the slip angle a bit much. I think now we're wearing tyres. This is quite a tricky little combo.
Tricky indeed. Emery's joined us as well in the broadcast booth. Emily Jones, how are you doing here at Mugello?
I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I'm doing all right. Just driving around.
It's been an interesting little queue in front of you. Daniel Gray was talking to us earlier about how he's the train conductor and everyone's been trying to pass him. How's it been as you've seen all the smoke being kicked up in front of you?
Yeah, it's fun. I feel like I'm learning this track as we go. The train conductor just drove off the rails, if that's what he is. So, also, I don't know if we have an incident point limit because everyone's driving off the road a lot. It's very exciting. It's fun. It's very fun.
I can confirm there is no incident point limit. How many incident points have you guys picked up so far?
Like 2. I need to start using my incidents. All right, I'm going to start. Thanks for this good information.
We'll let you go and abuse track limits just a little bit. Thanks for joining us. Paul, the fun of All-Stars, bang, bang, bang. We picked them up for a couple of chats.
Yeah, it's always good to hear drivers under a stressful environment, and I will say, if Daniel Gray is conducting the train right now, he's not doing a very good job of collecting all those tickets, but there we go, as we carry on in this race. So TK, as you mentioned, Arjuna, ended up in the gravel in the last corner of Busin. And he's having to now work his way through from the back of the grid. But do you know what that means? Once again, for 2 weeks in a row, TK would, if he finishes where he is now, start on pole position for the main race.
It's not necessarily a good thing,
no.
Right? But when you say it like that, it sounds like a good thing, but it's all about how you sell it, right? So great salesmanship. Oh! Casey Kerwin sells it up the inside. Oh, great defense, chops the nose. Pablo Vicente continues to hold on, but the Pulpo Lopez Paul has flown away with 5.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, they're not catching the Pulpo Lopez. That's his to lose at the front here. It's all about Vicente Kerwin. He's got Quirk right behind Casey as well in all of this. And Casey's run wide. He is human. He's made a mistake. And Quirk says, thank you very much. I'll take that place. And well, Kenny 500, he's wanting a sniff of all of this action.
Tell you what, if you're someone like Kenny 500, who had an interesting season opener at Daytona, you're just enjoying the fun right now. He's probably one of the drivers that's got some experience with this car and track combo. Some of them may have come into this event trying to figure things out, but look how calm he is behind the wheel right now. Sam Soyd was telling us how sweaty he was feeling. No such concerns as another face full of gravel gets kicked up here through the final couple of corners. Word from our production team, Paul. Some of these drivers apparently knew about the lack of incident point enforcement, and so half the field has currently not got an official lap time onto the board.
I think half is an exaggeration, but yes, a significant portion of the field haven't officially set a lap time. But I promised I wasn't going to mention it, so I'm not going to. Anyway,
I will then, great.
Well, I thought it felt like it was very leading, Arjuna, that what you were doing to me there. It's just leading me into that conversation. So,
I mean, Paul, we all know you're the arbiter of track limits, but you set the thresholds at the start of the broadcast, apparently, not me.
I'm just saying about what I got away with last night, and even then I had an hour-long race, and I only had a 17 incident point limit, and I was one away from getting a drive-through penalty. That's knowing how and when to use them. Well, knowing how and when to use these track limits to your advantage is working well for Pablo Vicente, for Quirk, for Casey Kerwin, for Kenny 500 as they run off. Grizzle did lose a couple of places just a moment ago, I noticed, so he's dropped down the order a little bit here. Is there a little bit of gamesmanship, or is it just going to be a case of looking after things? Well, he's all out on his own, Arjuna. I thought it's only best that we go and speak to our race leader.
Let's go distract the Team PGZ driver, the Pulpo Lopez. Pablo, how are you doing up front? 3 seconds your margin with 3 minutes to go.
Doing all right, though I have to push the tag, so in the corners it's very difficult to communicate.
I mean, this is an interesting track, isn't it? I mean, you're really having to thread the needle, really find the places where you can maximize this car. how much are you leaning on the driver aids? Because, you know, of course, this car's got more downforce than the Cup car, but it's got ABS, it's got traction control as well.
I think if you get to the limit of them not activating, you are in the perfect spot. Otherwise, it's just overheating the tires, and with the high-speed corners, it's no bueno, amigo.
That's why you're the drivers here out there on track, and I'm in the broadcast booth because I have to use the aid and not get to the threshold. We're watching a replay as well, a bit of contact, and there was a half spin for Grizzle that saw him drop to the back of the field. The back of the field's where you're going to be for the next race, though, Pablo, with the full invert. So what are you feeling? What's your game plan going to be for trying to fight your way back to the front?
I hope not to get into a crash like last Hit 2 race, and just get the better result I could get. Like, I want the Tag Heuer watch.
Well, you've got about a 2.7 second lead right now. Pablo Vicente has continued to put up the roadblock to Quirk and Casey Kerwin, so it does seem as though it's somewhat difficult to pass if you're around the same speed as drivers around you, right?
Yeah, and also, even if they dive into the inside, you can defend on the outside and have the inside on the next corner, so it's a really nice track to battle.
Well, we'll see you battle your way from the back in the fully inverted main race. Always great to catch up with you, the Pulpo Lopez.
Thank you, man.
There we go. And he mentions about the Tag Heuer watch, the connected watch that the drivers, the top 5 of the series get. Where's our watch? I keep on campaigning, Arjuna, every season. If nothing else, to show it off to the viewers at home of what you could buy.
There you go. But I mean, Paul, you're setting it. We got to set the stalls higher, right? We got to get a Porsche race car, right? Or a road car, one of the two. Come on.
Well, you might be fine with the road car. I can't drive, so I'm happy with the watch. Still, it's Kerwin, and we've got Quirk as well. So Quirk's the driver in the middle between 2nd and 4th place. Oh, Quirk taking that different line. We are on the last lap of this opening sprint race. Remember, the main race coming up in a few moments' time, 25 minutes in length. So the Pulpo Lopez leads, but still, it's all on for 2nd place, and Pablo Vicente got that great launch, and he's found himself in a very solid 2nd place.
And you've not seen Casey really being able to make a move past Quirk, right? So it goes to show the difficulty of making the pass, and last few laps, the margin's held at 3 seconds. To some degree, you can probably blame, you know, our chat with the Pulpo Lopez, distracting him through the corners. But I think it goes to show, once Vicente had Casey, you know, put a little bit further back, Quirk's not being able to dive up the inside as much, and Pablo's not had to fight back as hard. Somewhat even closed the margin on occasion, so we're in for a really interesting race number 2, Paul. Can't wait to see what we've got in store here at Mugello.
So your race leader is coming into the final corner for the last time in this sprint race. Kerwin and Quirk, they're not going to be changing places unless there's a mistake. But towards the front of the field then, it is going to be the Pulpo Lopez taking a lights to flag victory here in the sprint race. Thank you very much, says the Pulpo Lopez. He's delighted with that. Pablo Vicente and Quirk round out your podium with Kerwin carrying 500, your top 5 in this race. Basically, going to come across the line in 6th. And what a race for Love 46. We barely mentioned her, and that's not fair. She had a great race there, working her way through the field up into 7th place. So well done to her. Samsoid finishes in 8th ahead of Daniel Gray and Emery, with Storm Molina, Stradi, Tony Kanaan, Porsche, Zaza and Grizzle all having issues out there. Let's give you official confirmation of those results. So there you go. 3.1 seconds is the official gap between the Spaniard Pulpo Lopez and the Argentinian Pablo Vicente. The Americans then next were Quirk and Casey Kerwin with Kenny 500 and Basic Ollie. Love 46, Samsoid, Daniel Gray and Emery. And those drivers then going to be started towards the front of this main race. Storm Molina with Stradi, Tony Kanaan, Koizazo and Grizzle going to be taking us from the front. Well, we've had fighting all the way through the field. One driver who had a bit of a fight on his hands going to join us. A few drivers going to join us here. Arjuna, take it away with your race winner.
No, we've decided the Pulpo Lopez. You've already had a chat with him. Instead, we need to catch up with second, third, and fourth. Pablo Vicente on the left, Quirk in the middle, and then Casey Kerwin on the right. Second, third, and fourth. And Pablo, let's start with you, because you said at Daytona, this was a car that you were going to be a little bit more familiar with, and you had a fun fight, and you held on to second, but I can see lots of sweat as well.
Yes, mate, I promise you this is my race. I'm so happy today. In Daytona, I was totally destroyed for the car, but today, I told you it's my car, and I fight with this car, mate. I'm so happy to be on top. Of course, Pablo Lopez is very fast. I know with him it's not possible to fight, but I thought before the race start with Casey, with Kirks, with Kenny, I can fight. So finally, I finished P2. I'm so happy, mate. I'm so happy.
I'm happy for you, Quirk. Let's talk about that race as well, because, you know, Casey went for it. You had an opportunity to slide past, but after that, I don't think you really had a chance to fight your way forward for second.
You know, I was trying. It's weird to see Casey make a mistake. Maybe that beautiful head of hair of his got in his eyes, and, you know, I don't have to worry about that. So I was able to slip on by as he made a mistake that's very rare. And I tried to catch Pablo, but I just couldn't quite do it. So.
Well, Casey, was it the hair that induced the mistake? You had a couple of bites at the apple, but, you know, Pablo able to hold the outside and just frustrate you in the battle for second.
Yeah, it's obviously a very tough place to overtake. I tried to have a lunge into one and thought I was killing both of us, but thankfully I didn't. And then, yeah, I don't know if I just misjudged or if either way just got in a bit deeper than him and got in the back of him. I thought I was crashing there. Thankfully I didn't there as well, but yeah, I think I noticed when Quirk got by me, he seemed faster on the straightaways. I think he has a little less drag going on the straightaways. So,
I'm more aerodynamic.
Yeah. So it was tough to. I was trying to get up there if we could maybe tandem up to Pablo down the straightaways, but Quirk was too quick down the straightaways. So yeah, no, it was fun though. Obviously, it's a really tough track to overtake, so the feature is going to be very interesting. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks for catching up with us. We'll drag TK in for a quick chat as well. TK, great to catch up with you while there's no race going on, so we don't have to distract you from that. How's things going? How was that first race? I know an unfortunate incident saw you spin around to the back. Oh, TK, you've left yourself muted. Sorry. You're
sorry, guys. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty difficult track to pass, and I was trying to set up a pass on Borja, and yeah, Ollie saw the gap, and I think he went for it. I mean, it will be a debate who was right, who was wrong, but it doesn't matter. The accident happened, and a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. Put ourselves in a good position for the second race. We'll see. I mean, it's frustrating that I can't get a clean race, either self-inflicted or not. So we'll try to finish one without any dramas.
What's it like getting this car off with a standing start? Obviously, it's not really designed for it, but, you know, you're all presented with the same challenge.
I mean, for me, that I actually, probably the last time I did a standing start for Rio was in 95, if you think about that. Some of you are probably not even born yet. So it's pretty weird, but, you know, I go to the basics. I have a dual clutch here, but for me to make a mistake, it's too easy. So I just do the basic thing. It's just wait for the green and pull first gear. But it's interesting. It's interesting because some of the guys have it dialed in. So it makes it actually, at least it makes it more fun, I think.
Well, at least, TK, we got to catch up with you with no race going on, no distraction for you as well. Best of luck for this main race ahead. Should be a fun one.
Yep, for sure. Thanks.
The chaos of a Porsche All-Stars, Paul. We've chatted with so many. We've now got a full inverse. Oh, this should be a fun race ahead.
Yeah, it should certainly be, and I'm looking forward to this second race. I have to say, just seeing that quick replay of the incident that TK had there, a little bit ambitious there, I think, possibly from Basic Ollie, but it was just one look that we got. Look at that. So, yeah, definitely one that will be discussed in the virtual paddock after this race. Well, it's a beautiful venue here at Mugello. well and truly spectacularly done by the crew at iRacing as well to capture this circuit. Here we are then with your starting grid. It's Grizzle and Boy Zaza on the front row with Tony Kanaan and Stradi row 2. Solmolina and Emery round out row number 3. With a fourth row of Daniel Gray and Sampside, they'll continue their fight with Love 46 and Basic Ollie, and then Kenny 500 and Casey Kerwin rounding out row number 6. The seventh row for Quirk and Pablo Vicente, and then your race winner from the sprint race, the Pulpo Lopez, rounds out row number 8. 15 cars taking to the start of this one, Arjuna. We've got about 24 seconds remaining. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do you think gets this one?
Ooh, you know what? Grizzle had a pretty good victory last week in the same format. I don't know how confident he's going to feel, though, with Borja Zazo, Spanish Minister of Defense, on his outside. So I'm going to go with the 56. Grizzle's on screen right now, though. He's going to try and prove me wrong.
Well, we saw Love 46 make a bit of a move through the field. I'm predicting a podium for her here in this one. But the engine revs rise. We're set for 25 minutes of action here at Mugello. Green flag in the air, we're underway, and it's not a great start from Grizzle, and that allows Boy Zaza to move up alongside him on the left-hand side of the track. We've got Stradi, Tony Kanaan trying to work their way through here as well. We're almost going 4 wide into turn number 1 and through this tight right-hand hairpin. Cars running wide into the runoff, and well, look at that. Boy Zaza cleanly in the lead. We've got the car running wide there. That was Love 46. Oh dear, don't say I've given her the curse of the commentator. Oh, and in fact into the barrier. Oh my goodness, Love 46. I so apologise. And bang! That was Sampside around into Emery. So huge dramas. We had a clean start for the first race, Arjuna. A bit more chaos this one.
Typically what we see with the full invert, and the likes of Casey Kerwin already up 4, taking full advantage to try and cycle his way forward. Remember, we're expecting a breakaway may be able to build here, even with a 25-minute race. Borja Zaza still under pressure, though, as out of Arrabbiata they cycle and down towards turn 10. TK in a great spot with the pressure behind. Storm Molina also, like you said, Paul, favouring this car, running very well. Daniel Gray, though, in the all-teal machine directly behind.
Yeah, like I say, she's got a bit of experience in this car, Storm Molina. You can see her streaming, and especially a Sunday Fun Days, always really good to go and catch her streams. So do check out all of our drivers here on their various media. But through the final corner for the first time in this race, it is Boy Zaza ahead of Grizzle. Tony Kanaan, Storm Molina, Daniel Gray, Stradi, Casey Kerwin in 7th place, then up 5 places for Casey as the cars come thundering past the pit exit, heading towards turn number 1. Such a long straight, heavy braking there. No moves being made towards the front of the field, more towards the rear. The Quirk and the Pulpo Lopez have been fighting, I could tell you.
Storm Molina a bit out of line, and now a bit wide into the gravel. So Daniel Gray is going to get a chance around the outside. I think Molina is just going to try and concede this one and blend back into the queue. Especially important because guess who? Casey Kerwin's now behind as Molina wide once more.
Oh, you don't give Casey Kerwin 2 bites at the cherry there. He will just take it straight away and up into 5th place now. That's 7 places gained for Casey Kerwin. I think this is where his strengths are in these reverse grid races. What helps him get these All-Star Championships is how he's able to work his way through the field. But I tell you what, the Pulpo Lopez, along with Quirk and Kenny 500, towards the bottom end of the top 10.
They're struggling a bit more, aren't they, to slice and dice their way than Casey has been able to so far. You got to wonder, is it starting to build? Because Borja Zazo and Grizzle wheel to the final corner here. And we've got 21 minutes still left on the clock. TK is going to hit the back of Grizzle for a second. Not sure how they didn't make that a bigger incident by any means. Onto the main straightaway. Let's take a look at the replay on the bottom though, Paul. Almost a mess down into the final corner.
Yeah, so Love 46 had to go wide, then gets caught up on the inside and just loses the back end on cold tyres. And then it was, oh, there's been a big accident on the start and finish straight as we carry on with this replay. That was Sapside. And Emery then getting wiped out. And oh no, of all people who's had that accident on the start and finish straight, Tony Kanaan, a man who just cannot buy himself any luck in these races here on the All-Stars, as Boyazazo still holding on to that lead, but only just.
It's very, very close at the front. That replay, by the way, showing just how crazy the start was compared to our sprint race. Something I think we're going to get a bit more accustomed to, especially when we get to the Cup car portion of our Porsche All-Stars. Very interesting once we get off the line, and the discrepancy maybe from the front and back of the field with a full invert. Going to be quite interesting how long Casey Kerwin's going to take here with Grizzle and Borjazazo. Remember, not able to find his way past Pablo Vicente through the entirety of the sprint race. Now 20 minutes, Paul, to try and engineer a way on forward.
Yeah, so looking to the inside, showing his intent. Casey Kerwin, oh, determined. Through he goes with a forceful yet clean move. So moving further back in your field as well, basically fighting away with Quirk. As behind them, the Pulpo Lopez's and Pablo Vicente have moved ahead of Stradi in this one. So just on this lap, they've been moving forward as well. Down the start and finish straight. Once again, everybody trying to use that draft to the best of their ability because they do feel it towards the end of the straight. You can see Casey Kerwin's time on the timing tower in the top left-hand corner of your screen, getting closer and closer to the Spanish Minister of Defense. But Boyazazo right now just staying ahead in the lead, as running wide there was Storm Molina, and basically goes through. Casey Kerwin's fighting with Boyazazo at the front, but here's what happened to TK.
And I think Casey might be even able to grab the lead here into the next left-hander, but 3 wide, TK gets pincered into the wall. An unfortunate bit of contact through all of that, and well, we spoke to TK in the break. He was hoping for a bit of a better race to fall in his favor. Storm Molina still under pressure as the Pulpo Lopez slices his way to 7th. But Paul, Casey's in the lead, and now almost a full second clear up front.
Storm Molina had a slowdown penalty. That's why she's had the latest couple of cars go past her. And hopefully Bell can keep focused forward and move forward, back forward in this race. Pablo Vicente, by the way, has dropped off the back of the Pulpo Lopez. So drama for Pablo in this race. It seems to me, Arjuna, that yes, it can be a little bit difficult to make moves around this track, but you make a mistake around here and it is punished.
But Casey's just proven how easy it apparently is in this main race for him to make moves. Again, when they were all similarly paced at the start of the sprint race, it was difficult, and we saw that. But you know, given that Pablo Vicente, the Pulpo Lopez, and even Quirk to some degree haven't had the same ability to make their moves and fight their way forward, it's just a very, very interesting one, and maybe suggests that Casey has turned the wick up just a little bit for this second race. To the inside, Borjazazo is going to defend hard, and at this point, say goodbye to the race win. Casey Kerwin's going to sail his way, 17 minutes to go, to what I'm going to guess now, 5 to maybe 7 second margin of victory at the very least. Who's going to be on the second and third step of the podium? I think that's going to be the question we get to answer.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, isn't it, to see how anybody else could catch up to Casey Kerwin. I think it takes a mistake from Kerwin for anyone to gain up to them. But look at Boyazazo right now, again, leading that train of cars. Grizzle, Daniel Gray, basically, Quirk, the Pulpo Lopez, Storm Molina, and to a degree, Kenny 500 as well. Stradi, it's good to see Stradi on board here as we go through the Beata corners, and mistake for Pacey Colley has dropped him down, I can tell you, through all of this. As we'll look to the 46 then, and her on board. That mistake, I'll hold my hands up, that's on me. Arjuna was that one, that was on me.
You believe in the curse of the commentator.
Oh, absolutely.
As do I. Lewis McClade does not. So somewhere he's sitting and saying, Paul, what are you on about? Yeah, Paul, it is all your fault at the end of the day. And that's why, next time, Paul, don't ask me who you think I'm going to win, because I feel, you can ask me in the Supercup, I feel less guilty than I do in the All-Stars, because 1 in 15 versus 1 in 30, the chance of the curse actually coming true, much higher.
Casey Kerwin just set the fastest lap without any draft. he's on a mission. By the way, best dressed driver on the racetrack, Boyazaza, the Spanish Minister of Defense there, second place for him. But you can see just how much pressure he's under, but how cool, calm and collected he is there behind the wheel as well. So it's incredible to see how different drivers cope with the pressure of being under pressure from behind or attacking the car in front. You can tell just from their body language, can't you?
Always interesting how comfortable they are talking as well, right? There are some people that, bless TK, but it's why I'm so happy we talk to him between the races rather than during the race, because English is not his first language. He's not used to having a casual conversation during the race. You can tell we stress him out, whereas Borja Zazo seems a lot more comfortable, right? Just talking with his viewers, he's letting them know what's going through his mind, probably reading chat on some of the short straights as well. It's just such a different comfort, right, in terms of multitasking at the end of the day when racing. And so it's a very, very interesting thing. Around goes Quirk, not sure if that's self-inflicted, and he's taken the Pulpo Lopez with him as well.
Wow. So that is Quirk and the Pulpo Lopez dropping down the order then in all of this. And that's just allowing people like Stradi, Kenny 500, able to carry on focusing on the fights in front of them. As Casey Kerwin across the line, 3.7 seconds. Here's a replay, here's a look at what happened then. This is into the hairpin. Under brakes, and there's a look, it's a touch into the car in front, and then all concertinas together.
Self-inflicted as well, right? Drives it into the corner a bit too deep, and then gets into the back bumper, and, well, around she goes. The pendulum, the Porsche pendulum, the knife edge that sometimes you ride, runs the wrong side of it, and we don't even reach the halfway mark of this race. And another one, unfortunately, bites the dust as they kick up a little bit of gravel in the opening sector of the race. Another fastest lap from Casey Kerwin, who is now 4 seconds clear. I said 5 to 7 second margin of victory. Maybe double that.
Well, we've still got 13 minutes remaining of this race, so plenty of time. Oh, Daniel Gray almost going out into the weeds there, saying hello to the kitty litter, but keeps it on track there, right there through the right-hander. Let's give you a little bit of sights and sounds then as we go full throttle here. There we go, the beautiful sounds of that flat six Porsche engine there. Tremendous audio, and the drivers giving us a great show here in this, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. The races before the Super Cup, which you can see in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. 24 minutes to go until the Super Cup starts with its first sprint race of the evening. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati here, bringing you all of the coverage, and it's Casey Kerwin who leads this All-Stars race, and it's very different conditions for the Super Cup drivers. You can see on the bottom of your screen there, very murky and misty for the Super Cup here today, so make sure you check that out. Stick around with us at the end of this All-Stars race, but Casey Kerwin even more so, pulling out the gap, new fastest lap. He's now 5.1 seconds clear of the Spanish Minister of Defense.
That gap is gone. It was never really something we were thinking was going to be up for grabs once Casey broke away. Especially given the issues for Quirk, the Pulpo Lopez, and for Pablo Vicente as well, has produced what is going to be an increasingly intriguing fight in the closing stages, Paul, because these drivers will just slowly start to lose the balance of the tires as the harder they push. 25 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, around a track like this where you, especially when we were talking to Pablo Lopez in that first race, you know, trying to avoid getting into the ABS and into the traction control, it can be a track where you start to eat up the tires.
So, Casey Kerwin then gained 11 places in this race so far. Borja Zaza, though, keeping where he started in second place, ahead of Grizzle. Daniel Gray's up 3 places, with Kenny 500 up 6 places there in 5th place. So, doing a good job is Kenny. Then Basic Ollie in 6th place now, ahead of Stradi and Storm Molina. I could tell you, by the way, that Casey Kerwin has got himself a slow down penalty, so this lap will not be a quick one for him, but at least it brings him a little bit closer to the field. Not by much though, I must say, as still we carry on the recovering Pablo Vicente, Quirk and the Pulpo Lopez trying to work their way forward again. Love 46 dropped off the field after that first lap incident. Sampsoid again and Emery with lap 1 incidents. They are on a bit of a Saturday evening cruise. Danny inside to Daniel Gray. Kenny 500, Danny inside. Can he make the move stick? Well, Daniel Gray's got the inside for the left-hander now, Arjuna. Oh, this is great stuff between these two.
Great racing between them now, starting to separate themselves out. Daniel Gray gets all sorts of out of shape as he kicks himself back onto track, throws it up the inside, but move is officially made as Kenny 500 slides his way forward to 4th.
I will say, well held, Daniel Gray in that. That was a big moment there for us. And Arjuna, we've got yet more guests joining us here in the commentary booth.
Yes, Love 46, who had a fun race in that sprint race. Unfortunately, well, cursed by Paul Smith. I've got to say, Love 46, Paul picked you for his potential pick for the win, and so you've got to blame him for your incident on the start.
Well, I don't really know what happened, so just someone pushed me from the back. That was my mistake that I spun the car on the paint. It was really slippery on the cold tires. So good, we just keep going, keep fighting.
What has this combo been like? We were talking about it with some of the drivers during the sprint race.
Well, this combo is awesome. This is actually my first ever race at Mugello, so didn't race it at all in iRacing. I remember that I did some practice a long time ago in the Assetto Corsa. So yeah, it's a really cool experience. I really enjoy this track. It's really going with the flow and nice track overall.
Are you looking forward to being back into the 963 as we head to Spa next week?
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy GTPs, so looking forward for Spa. It should be a really fun race with a lot of draft and fun in fast track.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you in a week's time. 3 back-to-back rounds of the All-Stars, Paul, to open up the season.
And I will apologise once again to Love 46 for causing her accident at the start of the race. And Daniel Gray once again way out into the kitty litter. keeps it on the road, but he has got a very damaged basic ollie behind him. You can see the remnants of the contact that you had with Quirk, and well, Straddy behind, putting the pressure on basic ollie here as we go through into Arab. I told you, Yorkshireman trying to pronounce Italian corner names is not a fun one, but Arrabbiata 1 and 2, up over the rise, then you're on to the brakes, downhill braking into Scarperia.
Sorry, I thought you were going to continue trying to put some corner names there, Paul. To be fair, I'm going to let you do that. I won't try. The only ones that I can say are arrabbiata, mainly because I love a spicy pasta. There's not much that I enjoy more other than a nice pizza. No pineapple, please. That is a crime against a good pizza, that is for sure. 5 minutes to go. My prediction, 5 to 7 seconds for a gap up front for Casey Kerwin, is not far off right now, but I do feel as though, Paul, you know, we're getting 20 minutes into this race, haven't seen much aggression from Grizzle so far. Has he been trying to just wait and see where Borja Zazo is going to be a little bit weak? He's got a great run out of the final corner this time as they head back up towards turn number 1. Not going to see him try and get to the inside, I would assume. He's going to have to be forced a long way around. Is he going to be brave or stick it up into the braking zone?
Oh, and here comes Kenny 500 in all of this as well. So we've got 3 for second place right now. Grizzle, you said you hadn't really seen much aggression from him. Well, all of a sudden he seems to have turned that aggression up to at least a 6 or 7 from a 1 or 2 in this race. 4.5 minutes remaining here for us, Arjuna. So these drivers losing those opportunities to move forward and make some positions here in all of this race here today. So as we go through, Casanova and Savelli. Casanova, one of my favourite corner names in this track, certainly, and maybe even in world motorsport.
Ooh, bit wide once again from Daniel Gray. As remember, these drivers not having to worry too much about the incident limit, so they are able to run wide, push the limits of the track, and really gain as much speed and momentum as possible. Kenny 500 has a look at the inside. It's all just building here, and so let's start to interrupt some people. Got Daniel Gray, basic ollie, jumping into the broadcast booth. Daniel, let's start with you. 5th position. I see a bit of damage to the front right of that race car as well.
Yeah, Tony Kennard and I had a swift accident, we'll call it. We need to exchange insurance details, but hey, I'm hanging on to P5. This is great. I'm happy.
You say a skirmish. I think it was a little bit more egregious than that, if I'm being honest. Basic Ollie, how about you? You've sat behind Daniel Gray for a little bit. 3 odd minutes to go. They're battling up front. How are you feeling your chances for a podium still sit?
Well, I definitely think something's going to happen between P2, 3 and 4. I'm a little bit concerned about what you've just said with Daniel, so I'm a little bit worried now that I've got to try and overtake him before the end. So we'll see how that goes. But no, apart from that, I think it's going all right. P6, really. It's not really a track or car I'm particularly great at, but I'm doing my best, and it seems to be working out at the moment.
So Spa next week, 963, that's what you're looking forward to?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think I'll perform much better than that. I absolutely love downforce, so anything with a bit of downforce, I'm all over it. So, yeah, anything like that, yeah, count me in.
Yeah, and do be scared about that Daniel Gray. As much as he's got the thing on the front, asking for some bias, you've got to be worried anytime you've got Daniel Gray in front of you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard about how many off-tracks he's got. He's a naughty young man, is Daniel, I tell you.
Daniel, how many do you have? Come on.
How many incidents
do I have?
Yeah.
Be honest now.
Just maybe 24. But, like, you know, that's not that many, you know?
No.
Like, if
That's
that was a person, it would be a young person, you know?
Ollie, how many do you have?
13, which is not too bad, really, considering I got 4x when I had to avoid a little bit of a scuffle, shall we say, with I think was it Palpo and Quirk, I think.
Yeah.
So they had a little bit of a coming together, and then I've got some quite bad damage now. But apart from that, I think 9x. I think that's respectable. It's easy to get off tracks here.
I tell you what.
Ollie, I reckon we're in 3 positions here.
Yeah, we're 3 wide at the front, 2 laps to go, so we'll leave you be to focus on all of this, and a big send behind as well, Paul.
Now this is fantastic. Straddy putting the move.
I'm not even angry.
Oh.
That's class. I wasn't defending the inside. I'm not even angry. Fair play. GG.
This is all getting backed up here from the front as we leave these guys to race. But look at this, Bolsazo, Kenny 500, together again, and here comes Grizzle through all of this. We're going 3 wide on the exit of the corner. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic stuff here from the All-Stars. Where do you look at all this? Grizzle's wide now. He's pushed out the way. Daniel Gray has to get on the brakes. We've got 30 seconds remaining. I don't think that our leader, Casey Kerwin, is going to be starting another lap.
I think we have 1 more to go, so drizzle the spice onto this one. I tell you what, Paul, Borgesazo threw up the binders for 24.5 minutes, and until this point, he'd held on. It's a lot of aggression in these final stages. Watch for Straddy, who's now up to 4th, to try and get to a podium spot. DG slams the door shut on basic Ollie. Up front, is it the final lap of the race? You may be right.
It is the final lap, said Casey Kerwin then. We've barely talked about him for the second half of the race. He's going to come across the line. Race winner here in the main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Borgesazo's been around. He's had an issue. Kenny 500 is going to take second place ahead of Grizzle. Straddy is going to make it into 4th place with Basic Ollie 5th ahead of Daniel Gray and Pablo Vicente. What a recovery for him to move up into 7th place. Quirk, Molina and Borgesazo, after being in 2nd place at the start of the lap, all the way down to 10th place.
It's all fun when we have a full inverse, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
And that's just the taster, the support for the All-Stars.
As we go into the Loctite post-race show, let's take you through your provisional race results then here for the main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Casey Kerwin, 12.5 seconds is the gap ahead of Kenny 500 and Grizzle, with Straddy, Basic Ollie, Daniel Gray, Pablo Vicente, then Quirk, Molina and Borgesazo rounding at the top 10. Then in 11th, Pulpo Lopez with 46. Sampsoid and Emery, Tony Kanaan, 1 retirement from this race. I do believe that we are going to get to speak to one of our drivers, somebody we couldn't get to speak to during the race, so hopefully we get to hear from the driver who finished 3rd place here today in this main race, Grizzle. I say that because I'm just currently padding for time until we get him in the commentary box. There we go, and he's standing by with Arjuna Kankipati.
Grizzle, fun little fight there. Talk us through that main race, 25 minutes of trying to push your way all the way to the end.
I don't even know where to start, really. I really was trying to preserve the tires as much as possible because it is so difficult to pass on this track. But that was incredible fighting with Zazo and with Kenny. Kenny did a bit of a shoulder check there, but we made it work. I kept myself a little bit distant, waiting for something to happen. And then just trying to stay in the draft and keep on pulling forward and let the chaos unfold behind us.
And the chaos did unfold in the end. I've got to say, you were kind of plotting and trying to find your way on forward. You talk about the shoulder bars from Kenny. Is that kind of what you think we're going to see in the Super Cup? Is that what you need to do to find your way on forward?
Well, if I'll be very honest, the Super Cup sometimes is like a battle royale. And with this track being so tough to overtake on, I could definitely see some cars flying left, right, and center, maybe even up into the sky. Who knows?
Well, I'm hoping not for that. The fireworks hopefully stay on the track, but always great to have a chat with you, Grizzle. We'll see you next week from Spa-Francorchamps.
Excellent.
Yeah, certainly. Here's a quick look at the standings as they are coming out of this week then. Casey Kerwin with a 35-point lead over the Pulpo Lopez, who's only 1 point ahead of Basic Ollie. Quirk, Kenny 500, Daniel Gray and Pablo Vicente ahead of Grizzle, Straddy and Sampsoid. Bringing up the rear is Emily Jones. Sueli Almeida, we will get to see this season, just not able to join us for these first 2 rounds of the championship. Next time, we are heading to Spa-Francorchamps for these All-Stars. But stick around, because coming up after these few clips, we're going to be seeing the Supercup then and see what they can do around this magnificent Mugello track. The time to wait is over. Here at this opening round at the Daytona International Speedway, 30 of the best sim racers in all the world.
Sebastian Jober's gone around.
3 wide into the chicane and contact.
Look how close it is, though, at the front to the point.
We've got Elvis Rankin at the very front, Cooper Webster right behind, almost 3 wide as they reach the line. It's going to be neck and neck. Cooper Webster's got a nose in front as it reaches that line. The rubbing door handles. Cooper Webster takes the win by the closest of margins. One week removed from one of the closest main race victories here in Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup history, we head to Italy for the Autodromo del Mugello for week number 2 of this championship. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati bringing you all of the action here, Arjuna. And well, after the excitement of the All-Stars, we get even more excitement with the Supercup.
Daytona was great, wasn't it? It was our second time to the World Center of Racing, but for the first time we head to Mugello, and we've seen its undulation pose its challenges for the GT3R. Now with the driver aids removed, here in the Super Cup should be interesting how 30 of the very best get on.
Yep, there's the schedule as we see it then. Daytona last week with Mugello this week. No rest for the wicked, because in 1 week's time we head to Spa-Francorchamps. Then we have a little bit of a break before the mid-season tournament of the Sachsenring. Then the final 3 weeks are back-to-back. Thruxton, new to the championship. Fuji, new to the championship from top of my memory. And we're finishing off at Le Mans. We're not going to be going to Monza this season, but Le Mans, we saw an exciting race there last year in Super Cup. You'll be in for a thrill ride here in that one. Here is how things work here in the Super Cup. If this is the first time you're seeing it, the drivers, they get 1 lap to set qualifying here today. Then the sprint race will be 7 laps. The top 8 finishers will then have their positions inverted to set the grid for the main race. And that main race is 14 laps in length, Arjuna. Real challenge for all of our drivers out there.
Absolutely, and only the top 8 inverted, right? So it's always interesting, the inverted pole battle in the sprint race. Let's talk about this track here at Mugello with Casey Kerwin after his experience racing in the All-Stars. Casey, how difficult do you think it's going to be for the drivers to battle their way on through the pack? You were able to do it with relative ease, it seems, like in the main race.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky with just kind of dodging some of the carnage in the beginning, but yeah, it's definitely really tricky. It's a pretty high speed, flowing track. There's not very many heavy brake zones, so yeah, there's not very many major passing zones. And yeah, if there is like some of the heavy brake zones come right out of a high speed corner, so it's really hard to kind of follow a bit closer, and I think the GT3 Cup cars probably can follow a little bit closer and are going to be a little bit more packed up with draft. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky track to get it all right and put it together consistently, and will be fun to watch.
And before we let you go, of course, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series kicks off on Tuesday. How are you feeling about heading back to Daytona? We were there last Saturday. Of course, you'll be there in your Cup car this Tuesday.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I had my 4 or 5 months of fun doing the road stuff and getting to compete in the IMSA stuff and all that, and now it's kind of back to switching to the oval side. So, yeah, Daytona's a fun kickoff. The race is going to be insane with the runs and the draft that we have right now, and I think it's going to be dicey from lap 1 all the way to the end. So, yeah, hopefully we can be up front and have a shot at it. And, yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the season. Schedule's really fun and exciting. So, yeah, should be a good one.
Thanks, Casey, for jumping in with us. Let's take a look at the track map, though, here. 3.25 miles, 5.24 kilometers. Remember, elevation change totals to around 42 meters across the lap, but most of that does tend to sit itself in the middle part of the lap. And so think about how the drivers are going to run the roller coaster. Talk about the rear tire temperatures, especially in the main race as well, Paul. It's the very first time we've come here as we take a look at our Tag Heuer track analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be intriguing to see how the Supercup drivers cope with this one. And well, the Tag Heuer pole position award winner is going to be Cooper Webster then, who takes that award as he comes through then. I believe he was actually the winner from last race, because it's Alejandro Sanchez, as I'm corrected here. Sanchez then with his 5th pole position of his career here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. I mean, Sanchez, Arjuna, is somebody who's got lots of experience.
I mean, absolutely. If he grabs another top 10, it would be the 70th of his career. Let's see if we can catch up with the driver out of Madrid in the Stormforce Gaming Racing entry. Alejandro Sanchez, pole position for you. Talk us through that lap. How important was it, just 100th of a second between you and Jordan Caruso?
I mean, it was like a very weird track compared to practice. It felt like really slippery, but the lap time was sort of okay compared to practice. So I'm happy with that. I sort of underdrove a lap, trying to keep the tires alive for the entirety of the lap. It's really easy to kill them in sector 1 and 2 and then have nothing in sector 3. So yeah, quite happy with the prep leading up to this, quite happy with the setup, and yeah, everything we've done to get here. Obviously happy with the delivery as well. Most of us are like up there, so quite happy with that. So yeah, looking forward to both races. I don't know how interesting they will be, but I'm interested in not making them interesting, so we'll try our best.
You heard it there, Paul. Interested in making it uninteresting from the very front.
Yeah, thank you very much to our pole sitter joining us there for an interview. Just tell you now, 23 drivers, only 23 set lap times in qualifying. So interesting to see a number of drivers not setting lap times. So we're great to see what they are able to do throughout these races. Well, we got 2 races. As I said, this first race is 7 laps in length, and then the second race is an extra half again, 14 laps in that main race. But here's the grid for the sprint race then. Alejandro Sanchez with his 5th pole position of his career. Alongside him, former champion Jordan Caruso, Kevin Nielsen, and last year's champion Sebastian Job. Much better qualifying from him this week, with Tristan Iglesias and Johan Harp rounding out row number 3. The 4th row for Elvis Rankin and another former champion Diogo Pinto, with Luke McEwen and Nicholas Mateo. 5th row of the grids. Row 6 for Oscar Pye and Xander Reed. Then 7th row, another one of their teammates, Brent Collins, with Sam Keiter alongside them. And then Michael Jani, Luca Keita on row 8, with the 9th row, Daniel Pastor, and the main race winner last time out of Cooper Webster. Will Chadwick and Beckham Jacia then share row number 10 with Carlos Fenalosa, Gustavo Ariel, and Elliot Veyron was the last driver to set a lap time. Chris Lullum and the drivers below all did not set a lap time. Mitchell de Jong, watch out for him with Josh Thompson. Marina Sarica, Florian Lebigra, pole sitter from last week, all the way back on row number 14. And just 29 drivers on our grid graphic, with Julian Sonnen So I do believe Sandra Biko is not out there on the grid. We've got about 30 seconds, Arjuna. Misty and murky conditions for the drivers here.
Absolutely, and you called out Sebastian Job qualifying slightly better. You need to avoid getting into the midst of race control interventions. He's already got 5 penalty points out of our opening round of the championship. One of 6 drivers with penalty points out of Daytona. It's a short championship, Paul. Last thing you can afford, especially after a poor points finish in round 1, to lose them by the judgment of race control.
So, engines will adjust. Waiting momentarily. The drivers will look to the starter's gantry and get ready for the start of this sprint race here in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. The engine revs rise and we are underway here at Mugello. Good launch from Alejandro Sanchez with Jordan Caruso coming right in behind him straight away. Sebastian Job is going to be trying to fight with Tristan Iglesias as they go through the murk and the mire in towards turn number 1 and around the right-hander they go. 2 wide, 3 wide, a little bit further back in your field. You've got to get yourself sorted out through here. Find yourself a way into the queue, because if you get hung out to dry, Arjuna, you can move back fast.
And that's why I think you're seeing some drivers not pushing too hard. They're recognizing that you just got to keep yourself in line for the time being. 2x2 will work. These drivers are amongst the best in the world. Over the curve they clamber. Oh, Luca Kita got a bit scared there by the car on the inside. That's Cooper Webster, of course, in the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing entry. But at the front of the field, already a bit of a margin building. Sanchez, Caruso, Nielsen, and then Sebastian Joe. Behind the 44, though, battling Pi and Matteo, wheel and wheel.
Yeah, the front 4 as they started along with Iglesias and Half. So at the front have pretty much sorted themselves out, but it's this in the mid-pack that we're keeping an eye on. And car 5, Nicholas Matteo then in that Drago Racing car, duking it out with a Cabina Racing outfit as they go into this long sweeping right-hander. There's Oscar Pai then ahead, and Matteo and Oscar Pai's teammate comes clattering down the inside.
Yeah, he got a shove through the corner and then out of the corner as well. So the 2 for 1 from Cabina Racing not really working there. You can just see in the murk, like you said, murk and mire, headlights paving the way. Some drivers have been aggressive, but no one's really made too many moves forward. Cooper Webster's grabbed 4, but no one else, Paul, has been able to make significant headway as up to the end of the first lap they cycle.
And you look at it at the front, from the front, trying to break the draft here. It's such a long straight here as they go down into the braking zone. Easy to snatch a break here as well. A Cabina car's wide. It's gone off there. Oh my goodness, Xander Reed, one little mistake and off into the gravel. Meanwhile, Sebastian Job, last year's champion, up into 3rd place, able to get ahead of Kevin Nielsen, and Tristan Iglesias followed him through in that move.
I'm pretty sure through all of that as well, one of the Team Redline cars, might have been Sam Coiter, has compressed the front end. Such was the contact in towards the opening corner through the braking zone. These cars run as close as they can, but I think with the mist that they have, it can be difficult to spot your references, especially when you're wheel to wheel. And so a couple of drivers getting caught out, but outside of the couple that we saw on track, and we'll take a look at the replay as well, for the most part, all 28 drivers still circulating around the track. There's a look at the deep send into the braking zone, and all by themselves, Xander Reed slides backwards.
Yeah, and it's a big mistake is that as well, when the field is all compressed together there, all the way down, out of the points, to the back of this long snake of a train. Unbelievable stuff to see here, but at the front then, Sebastian Job in 3rd place ahead of Iglesias and Nielsen that we're seeing on screen right now. Luke McEwen's gained a place from where he started in this race. Diogo Pinto actually lost the place to him, so the Team Redline driver moving down a place in this. Of course, Diogo Pinto, former champion here, knows how to win a championship, as once again the slipstream train starts again.
And that's an important place, let's not forget as well, where Luke McEwen sits, the inverted pole for the main race. The main race pays out more points as well than the sprint race, and so there is always a little bit of contention about who sits in that 8th position coming to the end of the sprint. Keep that in your mind as we cycle our way through the laps. For Sebastian Job, though, Paul, he's got to try and now close on Jordan Caruso, who's got the benefit of a buffer behind him. You can see that on the top of your screen. The gap's going to allow him to focus forward, and where Sanchez is making mistakes, Sanchez wants to make this boring. Caruso's probably thinking, if it's difficult to pass, I've got to win this race and maximize the points here in the sprint.
You look at it as well, how experience and that championship experience is showing here in this particular round. Jordan Caruso, don't forget, 2023 champion. Sebastian Job right behind him, 2020 and 2024 champion. Diogo Pinto, 9th place, 2022 champion. These drivers, they're all former champions, they're all in the top 10. Here's what's happened to Daniel Pastor, and that's Carlos Fenalosa that he's going by. Oh, and he made the mistake on the brakes there. Back end didn't want to grip, and he now drops all the way to the back of the field.
Came in a day late and $1 short in terms of the grip that he had there, but you know, Fenalosa tried to open things up, but that opening corner, it just doesn't let you right there. If you make a mistake on the inside, you funnel outside, and even the stopped car of the Drago Racing entry couldn't avoid the further contact. On board with Luca Kita, though, as they descend out of the final corner. We heard it from Sanchez, Kita's teammate, in that pole interview, Paul. They were managing the tire temperatures and tire wear over a qualifying lap. Now imagine what that's going to feel like over 7 laps when you're trying to effectively set qualifying times lap after lap after lap. It's going to be difficult. Luca Kita sees his path blocked off as Sam Koiter, who, like I mentioned, does have the front end of his Porsche compressed very slightly, now gets the rear end compressed slightly as well.
It's great to see the Spanish contingent in the Porsche Twitch chat as well, supporting their compatriot Alejandro Sanchez at the front of the field ahead of Jordan Caruso. Of course, Sanchez, one of just 2 drivers now with an ever-present sticker to themselves. The other driver, Sebastian Job, in 3rd place. So experience can count here in this one, and right now Sanchez is showing all of that experience at the front of the field. But Jordan Caruso, the young Australian, move of teams after Altus was finished. Well, he is now with that Coanda outfit, racing in the Team India Racing Festival outfit name, and he's doing a good job here again after a challenging opening week at Daytona.
And racing from the OG Coanda house and the extended garage that they had there. You can tell by the purple flooring as compared to the black flooring that they have in the Coanda hub in Gronyao. But always fun to see the different drivers. And of course, the Indian Racing Festival also having Elvis Rankin, who was very happy with his debut in the series last week, all things considered, right? Drag race to the line, saw him finish 2nd to Cooper Webster in the main race, but can't really complain too much. Mitchell DeYoung maybe not enjoying as much his return to the series, especially in the 2nd round after qualifying didn't go all his own way, but 3 very strong drivers as Luca Kita once again on the move around the outside to turn 1.
Can he make that move stick? Oh, now that is a big incident. It's McEwen and Rankin then. Big moment. And remember, McEwen was in 8th place. Not anymore, he isn't, because that's Oscar Pai who's moved up into 8th. Big drama here as we're heading into the latter end of this race, Arjuna. 3 to go here, and McEwen will be absolutely furious with that.
I'm going to wait till the replay tells us more because, wow. I mean, you know, Diogo Pinto was sat behind and probably thinking, 3 laps to go, when can I make my move? But I don't want to put 2 and 2 together. I'm assuming a little bit of contact given how Luke McEwen had gone around, and a driver of his caliber unlikely to make a self-inflicted mistake, even with the slightly odd, foggy conditions that they're dealing with. He settled back into the rhythm quite nicely, though. Now in 8th, Oscar Pai with Nicholas Matteo directly behind and Cooper Webster. Here we go, full screen replay through the fog. Point out the cars that are going to juke their way down towards the opening corner. McEwen goes defensive, and Diogo Pinto, an uncharacteristically aggressive move, and Elvis Rankin goes around in a totally different incident, no relation, and then, oh yeah, 3 wide off to turn 2.
Yeah, so it was Rankin on half, and then it was Pinto on McEwen. There was that incident, and I can guarantee that McEwen will be raging at the race stewards. Everything will be looked post-event here, won't be done in session. Meanwhile, looking for the lead, Caruso, what a dummy, to the inside for the lead. Contact between Caruso and Sanchez, but Caruso to the head of the field here in the sprint race. What a dummy.
And there goes the boring race that Alejandro Sanchez wanted, right? Is this what he was hoping for, though? Sometimes Daytona, right, we talk about wanting to be second coming out of the Le Mans chicane. Is Sanchez thinking, look, I don't want to be in the lead coming onto the final lap of this race. I feel too vulnerable. These cars have limited setup options at the end of the day, Paul, but one of the few things you can do, take some downforce off the car, make it a rocket ship in a straight line. And these drivers probably have not differentiated their setups too much between the two teams. The only thing that maybe they're feeling now, the rear tires, Caruso's flying away into the final sector.
Yeah, this reminds me of that move reminded me of Mansell and Piquet. This is the incident then with Pinto looking to the inside, and that door was always shutting on him with Luke McEwen on Pinto. So yeah, I think the Apex Racing team will definitely be putting some reports into the race stewards post-event. Meanwhile, at the front, Caruso's got a half a second lead over Sanchez. As I say, that move from Caruso on Sanchez reminded me of Nigel Mansell, Nelson Piquet down the Hangar Straight at Silverstone back in 1986. As we go on to start the final lap. So, is Sanchez focused on the car in front? I think he's more worried about Sebastian Job behind him here, Arjuna.
Which way does Job decide to go? I think he's got to go for the move. He needs every single point that he can, and then needs to trust his overtaking instinct. Sanchez is not going to even let the door be opened here, and Job is going to run into the left rear quarter panel and then try and wind the car back up in through the middle sector. Job is also going to have to consider, Paul, what I said at the start here, right? Does not want to lose any more points in race control. Already 5 penalty points out of Daytona.
Yeah, so at the front then, Caruso, Sanchez, Job. That's the podium as things stand. Your reverse grid pole sitter, if it finishes as we are now, is Oscar Pye for the Cabina Racing outfit. They'll be happy getting a reverse grid pole here. We saw how Elvis Rankin last week at Daytona did a tremendous job defensively. And, well, the drivers heading through the double apex right-hander then as they go through the Arrabbiata corners. A little bit further back, McEwen ahead of Rankin, Jani and Keitert all involved in that. Luca Keita still cannot get past Sam.
No, he cannot. It's been a fun fight between the two of them. Remember, these are drivers outside of the invert as well, so they're not necessarily thinking about flipping their way to the front of the main race. However, Oscar Pye has just got to hold on through a couple more corners here, and he'll have the clean air into the opening run if he can hold on for the main race.
Well, Jordan Caruso, he mainly won sprint races when he won his championship in 2023. It's another sprint race victory for him then. Across the line he goes. And Jordan Caruso, little fist pump. He's happy with that. That is sprint race win number... that is be good if I read my right line. Number 4 for him as we go across the line. Elvis Rankin and Luke McEwen fighting to the line as they go across. Remember, the top 20 scoring points in this sprint race. So as we get our unofficial race results then from that sprint race, it is Jordan Caruso who wins that one ahead of Alejandro Sanchez. Sebastian Job in 3rd place then, just half a second covering the 3 of them. Tristan Iglesias ahead of Kevin Nielsen, Johan Half, Diogo Pinto and Oscar Pye starting on pole position for the main race. Mateo and Webster round out your top 10. McEwen, he'll be unhappy about that when it's Rankin, Jani, Sam Keita ahead of Luca Keita, Gustavo Ariel, Will Chadwick, Chris Lullen, Bryn Collins and Mitchell de Jong rounds out your 20-point scorers. Alec Veyron ahead of Carlos Vanalosa, Jabeckham Jacia, Josh Thompson ahead of Julian Sonnen, Florian Lebigra, Xander Reed, who had an incident out there, so too, Marina Sarica, and Daniel Pastor, the last of your runners. Well, hopefully we get to have a quick word with a couple of our competitors from that race. Arjuna, you're standing by with the sprint race winner.
Jordan Caruso steps by in the Indian Racing Festival car. Jordan, talk to us about that race win. Alejandro was hoping to make it a boring race, relatively boring, with the exception of one move.
Yeah, thanks. Not really happy with that. I was sort of spewing to not get pole, but yeah, I knew my race pace was strong, particularly towards the end of the race. So I was just sort of biding my time, making sure I didn't make any mistakes, and then once the opportunity sort of was there, I made sure I went for it. I was really happy with the move into turn one, but still a lot more work to do in the feature.
Well, we'll see how things go with the top 8 invert for Jordan Caruso. Let's see if we can catch up with Sebastian Job as well, who, after a disappointing opening round of the season, able to put some of those disappointments behind him. Sebastian, congratulations on getting back to the podium. How's that feeling? I'm sure a big weight off your shoulders right now.
Yeah, I would have wanted a little bit more. I did catch up to them at the end, but I just didn't feel like it was worth taking the risk. Glad to get back on the podium, but need a bit more than that. So we'll see. Qualifying wasn't great. I think as a whole team we were missing something. So did the best I think with what I could. But yeah, now just gotta have a good reverse grid, get some more points after round one.
And continue putting all the dots together for Sebastian Job and the rest of the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing camp. Always great to catch up, Paul, as we get ready to go for our main race here from Mugello.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll take a look back at what happened in that sprint race, and there was actually plenty of drama compared to Daytona last week. A bit more drama in that one. Good start for the field to be able to work their way through, but then it started getting a little bit interesting further back. Keita with the big correction there, having to hold on to the car. And then it was heading down that long straight. You could see how they were all trying to break the draft of the car behind to try and make some moves forward in this field. But the murky conditions made things tricky. Daniel Pastor just carrying a little bit too much speed into turn one, and that was the move for the lead. Jordan Caruso, what a great little dummy down the start and finish straight.
A little less impressive from Diogo Pinto. He shoves Luke McEwen wide. Elvis Rankin pits himself around on the Porsche Pendulum, and then Caruso holds up front for the very first time into victory lane to start off this season. But Paul, it's been a fun first race for these drivers at Mugello in many ways. I think they're now learning a little bit more and getting ready to go for the second race of this season at Mugello.
And well, looking at the history books, 58 main races we've had so far. Sebastian Job has won 27.5% of those main races across the entire history of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. The nearest one on that list in this race in particular, Sanchez and Webster right now. It just shows the variety of main race winners that we've had, Arjuna, with 20 in total across the history.
And maybe most significantly, right, Pinto, Caruso, not on that list, right? Like you called out with Caruso on his way to the championship, most of those were sprint race wins. And so it's all about points accumulation. And Sebastian Job, I mean, the most successful driver in many ways in the series history. But not always translating into championships, something he's hoping for later on this year.
We do get to have a word with somebody else here as well. Arjuna, take it away with a man who was unfortunately missing from that first race.
Alessandro Bico has been dealing with some technical issues, but I think Alessandro is getting dialed in for the main race. Alessandro, talk us through what's been going on.
Hello. Yeah, I would say my lucky. Unfortunately, the electricity went down 45 minutes before the session. It went up 1 minute after the start of the sprint. So yeah, but I can see maybe I can't even drive this race. So nice.
Heartbreak for Alessandro Bico, but Paul, we're ready to rumble for the main race.
We certainly are, and we will talk you through your starting grid here then for this one. Oscar Pye then with that grid inversion on the front row with Diogo Pinto alongside him. Johan Harp, Kevin Nielsen sharing row number 2 with Tristan Iglesias and Sebastian Job on row number 3. Fourth row of Sanchez and Caruso, and then the drivers start where they finish. So it's Mateo and Webster on row number 5, McEwen and Elvis Rankin, row number 6. Seventh row for Gianni and Keita, with Keita and Ariel on row number 8. The ninth row is Will Chadwick and Chris Lillan. Row number 10 for Bryn Collins and Mitchell de Jong, with Elliot Veyron and Carlos Fenalosa then sharing the 11th row. Row 12 for Beckham Chusia and Josh Thompson. 13th row for Julian Cernan and Florian Labigra, with Xander Reed and Moreno Sarica. Daniel Pastor is the last driver officially listed for this race. We are hoping that Alessandro Bico does get the opportunity of taking to the start of this one, Arjuna, but we saw that drivers have to be a bit forceful in making their moves here. A longer race means that you've got more time to make those moves.
But more time maybe as well for the tyres to go off, right? Even with these cooler conditions than some would have expected. Definitely something to keep in mind. I think unfortunately for Bico, I think you have to finish the sprint race in order to be classified on the starting grid for the main race. So no chance for him to join the 14 laps ahead of us. But Paul, I think this is going to be an intriguing race in a short season. A race that could definitely define Sebastian Job's championship.
Well, it's early in the season, but it has huge connotations to results at this stage of the championship. We are getting ready for the main race here at Mugello for week number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. The engine revs rise, and we're underway here. Great launch from the start for Oscar Pye and Diogo Pinto as they come charging down towards turn number 1. Big draft for the rest of them. Pinto going way wide to take a arcing line in for the lead. We're going 2-3 wide further down your field as well. As through the go into the left-hander for the first time. Contact car around it, Sam Keita. For the second week in a row, Keita off on lap number 1.
And well, his sprint race didn't start great with his bumper being dinged in. Been a difficult start to his campaign. Bit of a wiggle for one of the Indian Racing Festival cars. That's Elvis Rankin, who now tumbles down through the field after his great start to the season at Daytona. But there goes Sebastian Job, already up to 5th position, Paul, and looking to plot his way through to the podium spots.
Job and Sanchez moving ahead of Iglesias then in the early going of this race. Carlos Fenalosa's had a moment out there as well, so a bit more drama on lap 1 here compared to the sprint race as we head on through into Scaparia and Palagio, the right and left. And then heading towards that long sweeping right-hand hairpin. Mitchell de Jong also dropping down the order here in this one. So drama happening further down in your field. And this is where having that good qualifying for the sprint race can really set you up for a main race, Arjuna, because you're not in that mid-pack.
Absolutely. It also, let's not forget, pays out points. So there is a benefit to just championship-wise being at the front consistently. I see Xander Reed, Moreno Sarica, they've also been off the track as well. Sarica's dropped to the tail end of the field. Once again, main race start action-packed, and watch the snake back and forth. Diogo Pinto look to try and pounce into the opening corner on the start of the race. And Oscar Pye very astutely held the inside. He's going to force Pinto the long way around, and up the inside, holds on through the braking zone.
Johan Harp sniffing an opportunity as well. Pinto's still got a nose there on Pye. Oh, the young Frenchman versus the Portuguese driver, and it's the Frenchman who leads, but Pinto gets a great launch at the right-hander there, heading towards Materazzi. Well, it's going to be Pinto to the head, is it? No, Pye's still there, but Pinto now in the lead, but this is the switchback once again for Pye. Can he get the run? No, he can't, and he's got his French compatriot of Johan Harp right there with him. Sebastian Job into 4th now in this race. He's moving through the field.
It was a great move on Kevin Nielsen through turn 1 and now sit on board through the double right-hander at Arrabbiata, and watch how wide they're going to run as well. Really maximize the use of the AstroTurf that they have available to them, and then down the hill into the braking zone, 3 wide. An aggressive send it was from Jordan Caruso. Matteo's been shoved off into the kiddie litter. Caruso's now up to 8th position. You can tell these drivers have got some intent, Paul, and a 14-lap main race.
Caruso just making it back to where he started this race as well, don't forget. So losing places in the early stages of this one. Through that little fast chicane towards the end of the lap, then in towards Busin. Through the left-hander and the leaders all together as they come through onto the power. And out down the straight, the leader Pinto really aggressively weaving down the straight. Let's go to the replays of what happened at the start of the race, Arjuna.
So I think we're going to first pick up Sam Koituk, who just cold tires, goes around. I think that's a difficult one to recover from. Then the 91 to pick up Elvis Rankin, who, again, second in the main race at Daytona. He's on the outside. He's got Cooper Webster in the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing car that bobbles over the curb and slides into the Indian Racing Festival car. And then it's going to continue. Let's watch the Drago Racing car, Carlos Penalosa, up towards the downhill right-hander that leads you into this middle sector of the lap. He's alongside of the Cabina Racing car for a moment, but just, I think, cold tires once again, Paul. Wide by himself, and, well, what do you think about that rejoin?
I think I can sense a commentary colleague of mine, Conor Maddock, wincing somewhere. He might not even be watching this race, but he'll be sensing it as we go through Arrabbiata once again. Uphill, downhill braking then into Scarperia. And, well, Pai ahead of half. Diogo Pinto's pulling away at the front here, so half, if he wants to make some moves, he needs to make it sooner rather than later, or else they're in the danger zone of losing that draft. Remember, Johan Half, just one main race victory to his name over the years. He'd love to get another one here for the Apex Racing team.
Absolutely, and a change, of course, in many ways, with Kevin Ellis Jr. leaving, and so Johan Hart slides his way up the inside to second, past his fellow Frenchman. He is one of now the leaders of the Apex Racing team in many ways. Can he lead from the front? Instantly going to be put back under pressure, though, by Pai. What do you do if you're Sebastian Job here? You've got to try and find your way forward, because you're thinking about trying to fight back to get to Pinto and battling for the victory here and the points that are up for grabs. The drag race saw Half lose out into turn number 1. He'll fight back into turn 2, though, wheel to wheel, 2x2 at the front.
Oh, this is great stuff. Race for second on the top of your screen, race for 17th on the bottom of your screen, and still Pai holding on to the place, but this is slowing all of the field down. Here comes Job in all of this. The young man from East Grinstead around the outside and then the inside. Oh, thank you very much, Sebastian Job says to Johan Half. Of course, former teammates, those two, from Job's days at the Apex Racing team. But through they go, and they're going to carry on now as we look at the live championship points, and look at that in the early stages of this championship. Sanchez now to the head of his standings.
And this is what I was saying, right? This race could be so important for Joe, because if he wasn't able to work his way forward, he'd be more than 50 points behind Sanchez. Sanchez in 6th position, buried in the heart of the pack, battling with Kevin Nielsen for 5th right now. He's got to be careful as well. He could be in for a very strong championship run if he stays out of trouble, and slowly, one by one, picks away positions, picks away points. But he's keeping an eye out behind him as well, because there is Jordan Caruso, 48 off the championship lead in his own regard.
Yeah, Caruso followed Sanchez there in that one, and so gap made by Sanchez. Caruso says, thanks, mate, I'll be taking that one. And Kevin Nielsen just has to slot in behind the 2023 champion onto the start and finish straight again. And Pinto still weaving. If you're weaving and not giving a car a draft, why would you weave back again? I don't know. But anyway, Job to the head of the second place now. Yes! Sebastian Job ahead of Oscar Pai into second place. Now, can Sebastian charge down against Diogo Pinto here.
There was a bit of a shove through the corner as well. You could tell that even though Sebastian Job came in with a bit more steam, Pi carried a bit more mid-corner speed, and the two almost met in the middle. We heard it from Job. He thinks he was missing a bit in qualifying, right? And so while that might be true, it's clear that Pinto and Job have got a decent race setup, at least, going on 4 laps complete in this race. Paul, we still have 10 laps to go. How are the rear tires going to be holding on? Sebastian Job's got to catch up to Pinto and then find a way past, hold on to the Michelin tires underneath.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see running out into the gravel there. Will have given him an off-track penalty for Sebastian, but it's a case of knowing when to trade those off-track penalties for a bit more speed in your lap delta. Oh, tight further down your field. McEwen and Nielsen. There's Webster involved in all of this as well. Iglesias though ahead of McEwen. Webster, our main race winner last week at Daytona, on the outside looking in. He's trying his best to move forward in this one, but this has been difficult. He was outside the top 10 in that sprint race. In fact, no, he was just in the top 10 in 10th. Once again, finds himself in 10th, not really moving forward here, Arjuna.
Good recovery after his bit of contact, though, from Pinto to fight his way back up to 10th position, all things considered. It just goes to show how important the invert can be. Further behind, they're fanning out, and that's aggression. Will Chadwick's going to cover off any move from Nicolas Matteo. Here comes Luca Kita sailing around the outside. We're on board with Gustavo Ariel, who sits in 13th place, and racing driver excuses. Let's not forget, I was with Gustavo for the better part of the last week at Miami. He only flew back yesterday and started his practice for this Porsche Esports Supercup race. So he's been getting up to speed onto the track as well. Paul, we know how difficult it can be in a field as tight as this.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're talking just over 3/4 of a second between the qualifying times of these drivers, it just goes to show just how this all goes for them. Marina Sarica, he had a bad day. He's retired from this race. Lauren Labigra now. Oh, it's been a bad day for him. He's down to the back of the field here in this one. And so as we continue looking at this fight then, the car number 10 on your screen is going to be, sorry, the car 90 should I say, on your screen. It's this mist. I'm going to say the mist is to make my excuse for getting the wrong number there, Arjuna.
Let's take a look at what happened to Florian Lebiger, who had basically a perfect debut a week ago. Tries to send it up the inside on the 8, so that's going to be a attempted move on the ever feisty Bryn Collins. They play hip check down in towards 2 and 3. It does a good thing to get into the gravel, slow the car down, and then keep it pointed in a straight direction. But Paul, he's down in 28th position. Remember, did not set a qualifying time. No points going to be scored for the young Frenchman.
Yeah, the Verstappen.com racing team, Lillum and Labigra, not having the best of days, although I say that Lillum's just moved up into 11th place now, so moving forward for Chris Lillum. Meanwhile, Johan Harf keeping the pressure on Oscar Pai, who is losing touch with Sebastian Job at the front, and Job has been closing up that gap in the lead ahead of Diogo Pinto. I saw a yellow flag for Michael Jarni, so he's had issues out there here in this one. In fact, he's taken a tour back to pit road as the 92 of Michael Jarni. Difficult season for Michael in this one, but I tell you what, this pack is intense stuff, and Jarni, the frustration on his face there.
Yeah, he had actually got a black flag, Paul, which means he had hit the incident point threshold that gets you a penalty. You can take a look at the face there of a very frustrated driver who ended 2024 competing in the AO Racing by Kawanda car. I think so frustrated that he's turned his camera off, and that's a freeze frame of a very, very disappointed Californian. So, as we go through, we're reaching the halfway point of this race at the end of the lap then. So Diogo Pinto leads by 9/10 of a second over Sebastian Job, with Oscar Pai in 3rd place ahead of Johan Harf
who's putting the pressure on the young Frenchman. Two French drivers together out there on track. Alejandro Sanchez, who won the sprint race here just a few moments ago. He's in 5th with former champion Jordan Caruso in 6th, ahead of Kevin Nielsen and Tristan Iglesias, with McEwen and Webster rounding out the top 10. The weaving going on down the start and finish straight, half showing a nose. If anybody is going to be experienced in pack racing, it's Johan Half with his experience here in Porsche, in the Porsche Taycan Esports Supercup, but also in Rallycross, Arjuna.
Absolutely. Say that one 5 times fast, by the way. Half shows his nose. I had to say it very, very slowly. Sebastian Job has closed in on Pinto without any question, though. Will we see a challenge for the lead, Paul? We're talking, what, 10 points between 1st and 2nd. Early stage of the championship. We did show on the right side earlier in this broadcast what the point situation was looking like. And Job is already 40-odd points off, right, defending his championship from last year. So I think there's some pressure. He's going to go for it. Let's take a look at the bottom, though. What happened to Michael Gianni in the purple and orange entry? It's going to be on the exit of the corner here. He's alongside of a Silly Lully in the Verstappen.com car. Gustavo Ariels on the outside. He gets pushed into the middle, and instantly penalty served from the iRacing race control automation. He pulls to the side and back to pit lane.
Now, I will say, if he did end up with a black flag, the answer that I always said to others in the past is, yes, but how did you accumulate all of those other instant points? You know, you've got to look at the whole rather than just the one incident, if it was indeed a black flag for him. So, anyway, we'll continue focusing towards the top 3 because Job's still closing up to Pinto and he's feeling that slipstream from Pinto. Meanwhile, Pi is under intense pressure from Johan Half. Johan wants to move ahead for the Apex Racing Team outfit, and he's got Alejandro Sanchez for Stormforce Gaming. Behind him, into the inside goes Sanchez. Oh, that's an aggressive move from Alejandro. And can he hold on to it? The answer is no, not this time. Still got a nose there, though, Arjuna.
Man, got to be careful. That was very, very close for comfort. Also seeing the other Stormforce car in a wheel-to-wheel battle. Luca Kita there with Collins. So bring Collins under pressure in the fight for 16th position. No matter where you look, this field's still very close with 6 laps to go. Both Stormforce cars in the heat of the action. And now on the bottom, Mitchell de Jong getting into the fight as well as they play bumper cars down the hill.
Oh, this is getting a bit intense down in that mid-pack then for 16th place as through they go. Meanwhile, the race for 4th continues. Sanchez just drops back that little bit. There's your live championship points as things stand right now. Sanchez and Caruso, they're trying to swap places. Well, Caruso's trying to get past Sanchez in all of this. And Kevin Nielsen and Tristan Iglesias are going, we'd like a piece of the action here as well. Well, Caruso wide out of that long sweeping right-hander at turn 12. Through the S as they go, and they will carry on. Meanwhile, Sebastian Job at the front of the field has caught right up to the back of Diogo Pinto here, Arjuna. This could be a fight for the race lead.
Absolutely, and I think having friends is important no matter where you look, right? So Pinto and Job, they know each other quite well. They should race each other hard but fair. So which way is Pinto going to force Job? Obviously the long way around. Interesting use of the inside, the pit exit there. You can get away with it in a sprint race, you'd assume. Job gonna lunge, but he's gonna be compromised initially as they roll off the corner. The track sort of falls away from him at one point. Here it comes back to the side of Pinto, wheel to wheel through the chicane.
This is tremendous stuff. A watch for Job getting the run out of the corner there. This is great stuff between two champions. Of course, Pinto 2022, Job 2020 and 2024. Oh my goodness, great respect between the two of them as they go into Casanova. Job to the inside, Pinto carries the speed around the outside, but now it's the other way round. Job's got the inside then for the double apex right-hander. Can he get it? But no, Pinto's going to be able to carry the speed through this corner. This is sensational stuff through Anabiata in towards Scarpiera once again. And still, they're absolutely neck and neck. But all of this side by side, Arjuna, is bringing Johan Half into all of this.
It's what I'm sitting here thinking. I'm loving it. It's great stuff. Respect on both sides. But they've shrunk the gap by half a second in half a lap. It's under a second and shrinking. Job's finally made the move. No reaction from Pinto as he sits and settles back into second position. But on board with the Frenchman, who's closed up the gap, will be in the draft. And with 4 laps to go, Paul, what's Job and Pinto thinking? The game plan down to turn 1.
Well, here we go then. Pinto, I think the reason why he wasn't reacting is that he knew that he would be right here in the slipstream. And now Job weaving. You've got to be careful with that, though, when the car behind is pretty close to you. You can't be. And again, coming across the hatchings of pit exit. I don't particularly like it, but they're allowed to do it. And onto the brakes they go once again. Job holding on to the lead for now, but this is getting aggressive between the two of them. Look at how much Pinto's car is moving, and they've got to both be aware of this Frenchman right here. Johan Half has finally made it by Oscar Pye in all of this, and he is charging them down to the Apex Racing Team car.
And you have friends at the end of the day, right, Paul? You're going to be thinking about who you can trust and who you can't trust. Job and Pinto, they'll work somewhat with one another, more than they'd work with a Half and a Sanchez. Oscar Pye's got Caruso potentially there to play a bit of the bumper cars with, but not everybody's going to be thinking about the team game. You're balancing that with your own importance, right? Your own championship hopes. And so this great camera angle sits us down in through turn 9. Look at the train that's now built up behind.
Yeah, it's basically everybody, isn't it, in the top 10, top 11, that's all together in a line. This is fantastic stuff, and we've still got just over 3 laps remaining in this race. Job has been able to gap out a little bit at the front here to half a second between him and Diogo Pinto. Now, is this going to be a case as well of just of using the tyres a little bit less for Job? Although you would argue him having to work his way through the field from 6th would work them harder, wouldn't they?
You'd think, but he's just, one of the best. What was the stat before the race, Paul? He's won upwards of 25% of all the main races that we've had in the history of the Porsche Esports Supercup. He wants to add yet another one, and there you go, right side of the screen. It will be 17 if he can hold on in what is the 59th main race in Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup history.
Yeah, great stuff here from these drivers, though. Don't write out a Johan Half or Alejandro Sanchez out of this main race yet. This is going to be intriguing to watch. And, well, as they go through these S's once again, heading towards Casanova and Cervelli. And this is such a beautiful track, and we heard it when we had the All-Stars, Arjuna, that you got to get the flow of this track right. Well, today, on this day, Sebastian Job seems to be at 1 as he goes and dips a toe into the gravel.
Just had to say something, didn't you? Again, he said it himself, maybe missing a bit in qualifying, not missing a beat in the race itself, right? And goes back to your question about the rear tires, seemingly holding on. They'll have 2 more trips around the track once they cross the beam, once they get to the end of this lap. Job's built up his advantage to Pinto. I think Pinto's going to be a bit more worried about what happens behind. And you've seen, Paul, on occasion that drivers have been able to get such a slingshot out of the final corner that they've been clear of the car they're battling into the braking zone of 1. I don't know if we're going to expect that with these particular drivers, but all it takes is one slight slip up off the corner here, which is slightly cambered in, so it does slightly work with you to your favor. But one mistake, and you could lose 1, 2, 3 positions.
As we'll look both at the front of the field and the mid-pack as well. We've still got racing in 19th. Josh Thompson has gained 5 places there towards the back half of the field. He's ahead of Elliot Veyron and Julian Sonnen. So Josh Thompson moving forward there. As things stand right now, Sanchez would have just an 8-point lead over Cooper Webster, who's into 7th place. So Webster's been moving forward in this one as well. It seems to be that the Oracle Red Bull sim racing car seems to be coming alive in race conditions, especially with these longer races.
And in terms of those searching for, multiple championships, right? Pinto, Caruso as well. They're not far out of the mix. 24 for Pinto in the 44, 48 for Caruso, only 8 back from Job. So that mid-season tournament poll is going to be very interesting. We saw that format at Watkins Glen last year throw a very interesting sort of complexion into this series. Shorter season as well last year with just the 7 rounds compared to the 10 in previous years. So, we watch this fight further down through the field for 19th. These are very important positions and points up for grabs.
Certainly is, as through the right, through the left they go. And as I said, still at the head of this queue of cars for 19th place, it's Josh Thompson then, ahead of Elliot Veyron, with behind him of Julian Sonnen. Sam Kiter making a recovery drive in all this with Fenelursa as well on the recovery. Drivers affected in the early stages of this race, trying to get into that top 25. It's 25 points paying positions. Barney's got the white flag out. 1 more lap remaining. The front 3 have got a breakaway. Oscar Pai is trying to hold on to 3rd place ahead of Alejandro Sanchez. Sanchez is going to look to the inside, no, to the outside, because Caruso is getting involved in all of that into turn number 1. There's Cooper Webster as well here, Arjuna. So business is picking up here at the start of the final lap.
And Webster and Sanchez must be thinking at this point, minimize the risk, right? Don't want to get involved in any incidents. Must finish inside of the front 8 to maximize their points. Again, look at the top right. We're only 2 rounds into the season. You can get a maximum of 85 points in a single championship round, and already the top 10 are almost split by 65. So it's a big swing that we're starting to see, Paul. You've got to be consistently at the front.
Absolutely. And still absolutely neck and neck. Oscar Pai doing a good job of holding on. Caruso stepping a foot into the gravel trap on the exit of Arrabbiata. Well, as they plunge downhill once again. Time running out for any moves here in this one. So it's going to be pretty much as you are. Maybe a drag race to the line, although that finish line does come at you sooner than the start line. So you've got to make the move on corner exit and be brave. But one driver who's been doing the hard work, up 5 places from where he started in this race. Unbelievable drive. It was 16 main race victories before. Make that 17, because Sebastian Job is a main race winner here in 2025. Great stuff for Sebastian. You can see the delight on his face as well. Pinto holds on 2nd place ahead of Johan Haaf. Good podium for the Frenchman in 3rd place ahead of Oscar Pai, who started on pole position. And then it's Sanchez, Caruso, Webster and Nielsen, with McEwen and Iglesias rounding out the top 10. I can tell you a black flag for Julian Sonnen on that last lap. But Arjuna, that race had a bit of everything, didn't it?
Absolutely, just a little bit of everything as we dive into the Loctite post-race show. Paul, it sets up the rest of the season very interestingly. I said this might be a race that defined Job's championship, and he fought his way to the very front.
Let's take a look at your provisional race results then from the main race of week number 2 of the 2025 Porsche Heuer Esports Super Cup by iRacing. It is Sebastian Job who leads them across the line by just over half a second over Diogo Pinto. Johan Haaf 3rd ahead of Oscar Pai and Alejandro Sanchez. Jordan Caruso 6th ahead of Cooper Webster, with Kevin Nielsen, Luke McEwen and Tristan Iglesias rounds out your top 10. Chris Lowland then on a charge, 7 places gained into 11th ahead of Gustavo Ariel. Will Chadwick up into 13th ahead of Nicholas Mateo, Beckham Jasia, Bryn Collins, Mitchell de Jong, Luke Keita, Josh Thompson and Elliot Veyron rounding out the top 20. 21st for Sam Kiter, who will be spitting feathers after that race, with Carlos Fenelursa, Xander Reed and Daniel Pastor. Florian Lebigre gets a solitary point out of this week, 25th for him in the last of the point scorers. Elvis Rankin, Julian Sonnen, Michael Jarny and Marino Sarica all do not finish in the points, and unfortunately Alessandro Di Pico, with his power cut, was not able to take the race start. Well, we're going to hear from our podium sitters then. Juna is going to be sitting with our race winner from that main race, Sebastian Job.
Once again, catching up with Seb. Seb, victorious for the 31st time in the Porsche Esports Supercup, your 17th main race victory. You always want a little bit more as a racing driver, but that was a pretty good round two, wasn't it?
I'm pretty knackered after that, to be honest. That was one of the most intense races I've had in a long time. You know, when you spend a whole lap side by side, you're just like so knackered afterwards. Like it feels like you don't breathe the whole time, especially when it's your teammate. So yeah, I mean, very happy, very grateful to Diogo for a great battle. It was there's not many people you can race side by side with for a whole lap that closely without any contact. So yeah, that was really awesome. I enjoyed that a lot.
I enjoyed it as well, but I got to ask the question now: what's more difficult, racing side by side in the Porsche Esports Supercup or driving an F1 car? What's more tiring? Come on, Seb.
Honestly, a lap of this was pretty damn tiring, but I think the F1 car just about takes it. But not by much, honestly. I am shattered. Mentally, I think this was more tiring. Mentally, it just destroys you. I'm gonna crash hard soon, I think. So, yeah, just full of adrenaline at the moment. Really awesome.
Pretty good testament to the adrenaline sim racing can build. Best of luck tomorrow in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, and we'll see you back here on Porsche's Twitch plenty over Feb. Onwards to second race into Diogo Pinto, who stands by now here with us. Diogo, great battle there with Seb, unfortunately on the losing end of it, but what more do you think you could have done there in the fight here at Mugello?
Yeah, there was not a lot more. I think it was quite fair racing. Maybe I could have been a little bit more aggressive, but at the end of the day, rather finish here second than no points. So yeah, I did the best I could there.
First time here at Mugello, but how did that race overall with the Porsche Cup car, lack of ABS and traction control? How much were the rear tires screaming by the end of that main race?
It's a track that doesn't really suit this car, so I personally don't like it, with this car at least. So it was painful for me and some of my teammates to practice in. So yeah, it's very tricky to race and drive around here in this car.
Able to get onto the podium though. Congratulations, Diogo. We'll see you next week from Spa. And we'll chat up as well with Johan Harth in that Apex Racing number 90, able to close up with the leaders in the final stages, but just unable to have enough time to go on the offense. Johan, it's another podium in the Porsche Esports Supercup. Talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, perfect bounce back from Daytona. Would have been hard to do any worse, pretty much. I was dead last week, so it's good to just fight up the front and know I can be there. And hopefully we can make it back there next week at Spa. But yeah, interesting round. I expected for it to be a little bit harder to overtake. But yeah, pretty much stayed where I was at. Maybe I could have had a good Diogo earlier in the race if I had passed, who was it, Oscar? The first time I had a go at him. But yeah, P3, that's probably realistically the maximum we could have achieved, with Sebi being that quick. So pretty much a spot on round for me.
Interesting to hear that you thought that overtaking maybe wasn't that difficult. You think that there was enough speed, especially into turn one, to make some moves?
Maybe not in T1, but you did a good enough job in the middle sector. You could have a go in the last sector, which I didn't really expect from practice, so that was interesting.
Well, Johan, thanks for your perspective. Always interesting hearing from the drivers. We'll see you next week from Spa. Paul, I think hearing from all three kind of sounds they're looking forward to being away from Mugello into something a little bit more familiar.
Yeah, as we take a look at the championship standings as things stand at the end of this week. A new championship leader, Alejandro Sanchez. Remember, he's fought for a championship, didn't quite get it back in 2020, but he's going to be looking to bounce back here this year and potentially take a championship. But he's got a tough task with us. Cooper Webster, Diogo Pinto, Luke McEwen, Sebastian Job, Jordan Caruso. The list goes on for the championship challengers here in this season. And, well, the drivers, as you mentioned, don't have long to wait either, because just 1 week's time for us, Arjuna, we're heading to the Ardennes Forest.
It's a track that, you know, has so much history in this particular championship as well. I think back to when Jamie Fluke was so close to a victory until Malmedy a bit of contact. He won't like me bringing that one up, but it's just got a bit of drama. It's got a little bit of spectacle, doesn't it, when you head to the Ardennes? Should be interesting. Same time, same place, here on Porsche's Twitch.
Absolutely. As we head out of the Loctite post-race show, what a day's racing we had here today in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. An absolute thrill ride of stuff, starting with the All-Stars before the main show of the Supercup here in this second half of the broadcast. Brilliant action that we got to see, and well, we look forward to having your company in just 1 week's time, the same place, same time for us all here at iRacing and at Porsche. Myself, Paul Smith, Arjuna Kankapati. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Spa-Francorchamps.